Hi, Shalom Aleichem, guys. I wanted to share some thoughts about Pesach and Yetziat Mitzraim. I know I like to talk about this idea a lot, but it's really fundamental to understanding a lot of really important concepts, and that is that there's the physical world, and then there's God, and in between, there's this myriad of different levels of spiritual existence. And everything that exists in this physical world also has a corresponding aspect in the higher worlds. And it's not only that they correspond to each other, but the higher worlds influence the lower worlds to the effect that, let's say this table here that I have right here, it's connected to a level of some sort of spiritual counterpart on a higher world, but really the table in the higher world, in the spiritual world, is the essence of the table, and this physical table is just the physical manifestation of the true table that exists on a higher level. So what's on the higher level is actually the deeper reality, and what we touch, feel, taste, smell, see, hear is just a physical manifestation of that. It's how it comes out in physicality. So the higher spiritual level is kind of like a puppet master pulling the strings, and the way that things work here in the physical world are being manipulated by a higher influence, how they're affected in the upper worlds. So I was seeing this amazing idea in the English translation to Yalkut Yosef. So Rav Yisrael Bitan brings the Beis Halevi talking about how this idea of the different spiritual worlds, different spiritual levels, and saying that the problem with Golus Mitzrayim, the Egyptian exile, was not only that we were physically enslaved and physically imprisoned in Mitzrayim, but that the Egyptians used their black magic and black arts to manipulate the spiritual levels in order that we should actually be imprisoned on a spiritual level. So that means that we were totally trapped. Even if there wasn't a physical barrier, we still wouldn't have been able to get out of Mitzrayim because the higher spiritual level was holding us back. So that dictated the rules of the physical world. So let's say they didn't even have border guards or this or that or anything, and we could have, on a physical sense, just walked on out, we still would have been prevented from doing so. So what God had to do is not only redeem us physically, but he actually had to break through the constrictions holding us back on all the different spiritual levels. And he brings the Zohar saying that this is called the breaking of the gates, that Hashem reached down from above and throughout every level broke through what was holding us back and redeemed us and brought us to salvation. So when you're holding on the physical level of existence and you experience something that goes against the way the world works, the laws of nature, whatever it is, that's called a miracle, neis, right? But that's what a neis is. It's something that goes against the natural order. But if you're holding on the spiritual level, that's not necessarily miraculous, because if you're moving the strings of the puppet and you normally move the string this way, now you just move the string that way and the arm stretches out or whatever. So according to what you did, it makes sense. You manipulated in a different way than normal and the expected result came out, cause and effect. So because it's not the normal process of things from down looking up, it looks like a miracle, but from up looking down, it's still going according to your view of the natural order of things. But here, what we have in the case here is that Hashem broke through all the levels, even the upper spiritual ones, and changed the natural order of all those worlds too. So even someone who is holding on a spiritual level, if that was your viewpoint, where you're already holding by nisim, right? You're at the level of neis. To you, that's a neis. So it's nisei neis, I guess you would call it. Nisim, I don't know, something like that, right? That, even on someone who can appreciate the level of a neis, and that's the natural way of things for them is the level of miracles. To them it would be miraculous. It's like, you see a guy who doesn't know anything about cars and he sees some like flashy red sports car, Porsche or this or that, whatever, right? And he's like, oh, that's a flashy car. But, he doesn't necessarily know the difference between a Porsche and a BMW and a Ferrari and a Maserati and this and that. Well, I don't know, I'm just playing it. I'm that guy, right? I don't know the difference between all these things. So then let's say you have a mechanic that works on sports cars, right? And so his whole life he's been working on engines and he subscribes to all the different car magazines and this and that and everything. So for him, he can, pinpoint off the street, that's this year model, blah, blah, blah. Oh, that one is the turbo engine. I don't know, whatever, right? He really knows his stuff. Cars is like his thing, and this is second nature to him, right? So for such a man as that mechanic to see a, really nice car and to go, wow, that's an amazing car, right? So that's already tells you that that's a crazy amazing car. For the guy who doesn't know anything, so anything, that's fast and has a spoiler on it or whatever, and, bright red and takes corners really tightly, so anything like that, okay, that's a great car. But for the guy who cars is his thing, and he's not easily impressed, for him to say, wow, right? All right, then that's like the spitz of cars. So we're talking about with Mitzrayim, when God took us out, that's the spitz of miracles. Even for someone who's holding in the level of miracle, they'll say, wow, that's miraculous. That's incredible. I can't believe that happened. That goes against everything that I know to be. All right, so it's like this. Every sorrow, every challenge that we're going through in life is connected to Galus Mitzrayim, the Egyptian exile. Spiritually speaking, there is an aspect of being imprisoned, enslaved in Egypt, in everything that holds us back in life, whether it's money or children, having children, raising children, trying to get married, health, mental problems, emotional problems, whatever it is. Every single suffering that someone is going through, there is some sort of spiritual aspect of it that's called Galus Mitzrayim, right? So, on Pesach, we're tapping into this salvation that broke through all the levels to take us out of Galus Mitzrayim, right? So that's the light that we're tapping into. There's this concept that every time we have a chag, that it's bringing us back to that original light, that we're experiencing the same exact light that first happened when whatever that chag is commemorating took place. We're tapping into that exact same light, right? So on Pesach, we're tapping into that exact same, not only miraculous light of salvation, but that it's bigger than a miracle. It's a miracle of miracles, that it's going through all the levels to bring us out. So even if we're going through crazy challenges, we've got potential for a crazy salvation through Pesach. So I hope that we can all try and tap into that during the Seder and during the whole week of Pesach as much as we can. Just this crazy, crazy deep light that no matter, even if according to a miraculous level, even if you were to have a miracle, you'd still be stuck in what you're going through. That's how deep your enslavement in these problems you've got going on is. Even if that's the challenge you're facing, you can still break through with it. So B'ezrat Hashem, we should tap into that, and just whatever each and every one of us is going through, get out of it through the light of Pesach. Love you guys. Chag Kasher v'Sameach.